I know the company's been approached a number of times by venture capital. What has kept you in the game? Why haven't you sold the company? You've been in business for many years now. The software continues to grow, but you've also been offered quite a bit of money to sell out and move on, or continue to be a part of growing the business, but sell your percentage of the business. What has made you decide to keep your skin in the game and continue to build what you've already started?
Well, I think we're doing what we want to do. I mean, truly, one of the more recent offers which was a written offer, was enough that we could sort of be done, or pretty close to done. I mean, because it would have been enough money to kind of walk away and not have to do anything else if we didn't want to. And honestly, we considered it. We thought about it, but you have to. But at the end of the day, the way we look at this is, one, for us, we'd just be bored. I mean, I love doing this stuff. Yeah, there are days that are frustrating, and yeah, there are days that feel like, why in the world are we doing this? Or it feels like, people don't appreciate or have any comprehension of how complicated what we're doing is and how much has gone into it. And, you have those days as a business owner, and you have those frustrations, but on the flip side, you also realize that, man, we might actually have an opportunity to make a difference here. And John and I feel that everything I'm in my 30s and John's in his early 40s, and we feel like all the stuff that we've gone through in life and worked hard to learn, and struggles and frustrations have uniquely positioned us to be able to do this, and we're finally getting to do the thing that we just love, we're passionate about. We really feel like we can help other people. And a lot of that's because there's a second phase to this company that people don't see yet. So for me, it's just all about absolutely loving I'm getting to do software. I love technology. I'm getting to do teaching stuff. I love helping other people. I see this ridiculous problem where people have no life. I mean, they have zero life. They don't do anything, or they wait till they say, when I'm 60, I'm going to do this thing, whatever that thing is. Or there's this one scenario after another where they never see their kids. Their family sucks. I mean, it's just, they go home because their family life is so crummy that there's this ridiculous stress because they're unhappy with their spouse. And a lot of that stems from the business, or a lot of it stems from maybe not being around because of the business, or number two, they are around, but there's so many money stresses that even when you're together, all you can talk about is the money problems and the stresses and the frustrations, which really destroys a marriage or a relationship. And so that person then lives in this constant state of stress. Now, I don't think we're the magic pill, but I think between our technology and where we're going with technology, and between the other things that are coming from us, I think we can massively change the market. And so we find that to be just incredibly exciting. The other part of it, too, is that I've known way too many guys that have sold their companies, and then they're bored. And I can't just sit around and do nothing. I like racing cars, but if I raced cars every day, I would get bored. This keeps my brain going. I mean, one of the things that energizes me is when I'm driving from my house to the office, I listen to podcasts and books on, audio books and things like that. That stuff gives me energy, and that's business, and business gives me energy. I love it. I like making change, and I like seeing things happen. I like creating and solving problems, even though it's stressful and frustrating. So I think that's the big takeaway here, is that, I think we as people are designed that if we're not achieving and doing, then that's not really living to me. Yeah, maybe we don't have to work 90 hours a week, but I think the act of working and growing our minds and doing things and helping other people, I think it's a big deal. And I think it's what gives people a great life. It's amazing how many guys retire and then quickly die. And I don't want to work because of that reason. I just find that there's real value in work. So walking away doesn't interest me. Then on the flip side, as I said, I've seen a lot of guys sell their company and they want back in the game because they're bored. So that's what I was starting to say. You see these guys get bored, they want back in the game. The excitement was when you were in the game. The excitement was the creation. The excitement was building something that you can be proud of. And the other part of this is you see a lot of guys. So what's the difference between making $500,000 a year and having $35 million in your bank account? To me, it's probably not that big of a difference, because more than likely, if you had $35 million in your bank account, yeah, you might have paid off a house on the beach or in the mountains, and you might have your primary residence. Yeah, you might buy a nicer car, but you can buy any car at $500,000 a year income, and that's a big income. I realize most people don't make that, but just as an example, you could work your way to that, keep the business, and make a lot of money. It could be $200,000 a year, but generally at a few $100,000 a year, you can buy a really nice house, you can buy a really nice car, you can take vacations. So now let's say that you get $35, $40, $50 million in the bank. Other than buying a big house, maybe one more car, what else really changes? Not in what I've observed is most of the time not much. Yeah, you might do a couple extra little things. The only thing that's really changed is now you have a bigger nest egg that's just sitting there. Instead of being value in your company, now it's money in the bank. But in terms of your life experience and what you're doing and not doing, that doesn't change that much, because you making X number 100,000 a year already covers most of the things you would have done anyway, and generally buys you most of the toys you would have bought anyway. So I don't see taking a big lump sum of money off the table, putting in the bank account, as creating any great new excitement in my life. So that's the other thing that I consider in this is it doesn't create any great new advantage. So why do it? I want to stay in the game.
Jonathan, that is a great point. And, this is something that me and you have actually talked about before in conversations years ago. And that was when me and you both came to the realization that after we started to acquire stuff, cars that we love, the toys, all the things that money can buy, me and you both realized that it wasn't that stuff that was driving us. I remember when I was broke and, I was working for other people, the dream was always to get all this money, to get all that stuff. And what me and you have realized is that it's not the stuff, it's not the toys, it's not the hot cars, it's not the condo in South Beach. It's the time, it's the freedom, it's really the fulfillment that comes in the journey through life. It's that balance between accomplishing big things in our careers and in our personal lives with our families and those that we love. And so often entrepreneurs focus on the money, but what they really need to be focusing on, and something that I try and project in this podcast, is that we're after fulfillment. We're after fulfillment in our life, in who we love, in the lifestyles that we have. Money is just a gateway to time and freedom, but it's the journey that I found for myself, and I think you would agree with me still, that really brings fulfillment to my life and really keeps me getting out of bed and doing what I love every single day.
I have to agree 100%. We have talked about this several times in the last few years. I've just made so many observations from paying attention to this stuff, and you said something really important. I think that there's a worthy pursuit of money, because what money does buy you is a level of freedom. And I think freedom's what matters. It's not the stuff. Everybody talks about, this love of money thing. I think that love of money isn't the problem. It's the love of stuff, where you're stuck on, you have to have this stuff to get your worth. You have to have that car to put on the show, so that you could have to have that house so that your neighbors think you're this or that, or your family thinks you've done this or that. That's the flaw. That's the problem. Money's a vehicle to freedom and choice. I think when we lose freedom and choice as people, that's when we're dissatisfied, because when you feel like you're stuck with something and you have no control over it, that's a horrible spot to be in life. And so that's the vehicle that money gives you. And I think it's just critically important to pay attention to what happens when you get something. I remember I got my first, I guess it was $100,000 car when I was in my late 20s, and it was really cool. I remember buying it, and it was a car that I had wanted for a very long time, but seriously, in 6 months, novelty was gone. Every time I walked through the garage, I didn't say, oh, it's so awesome, I still have this car. I didn't think about it. I just walked by to get in my other car. And that has happened with almost everything I've ever bought. But the thing that has never got old is every time we spend $15,000 on a vacation, or $10,000 on a vacation, or even $2,000 on a cool vacation. The money, it is nice to be able to spend a lot of money on a vacation, but it's also, the little vacations are just as good. The vacations, the experience, the eating, the really nice eating out, the going places, traveling, the doing things with friends, the mountain biking, the snowboarding. It's that stuff that doesn't necessarily require tons of money. You can do it on a budget. That's the stuff that never gets old. I never think about that stuff and say, I'm kind of bored with this. Oh, I don't need to ever do any of this stuff again. But the cars, the houses, that stuff, the novelty wears off, and you quickly find yourself in a position of wanting another one because you're trying to keep up with somebody else. Not because, generally not for any other reason. It's because you saw somebody else has it. And so that stuff tends to wear out fast in terms of the enjoyment factor that you get out of it. The experience never wears out. Buying yourself freedom and choices, that stuff never wears out. And so going back to our point, I think you can create a lot of that, not by having this ginormous amount of money in the bank because you cashed out, but by working on your business to create something that spins off cash and creates a constant stream of revenue forever for you. And I think that is the bigger focus. And once you create that, then you don't, most of the guys that say, oh, you should sell your company, they're guys that don't have big companies because they also don't have big income streams or even decent income streams. So they're still living in the world of focusing on this big cash out someday where I have all this money and I buy all this stuff. But as soon as you have a business that runs itself and other people are running it for you, and you don't have to deal with every single problem and not every single thing's on your shoulders, if you have money coming in, then suddenly everything shifts and you don't feel like you need to sell that thing anymore. There's a real shift that happens when those two events happen. One, you're making money, and two, you have a real company. It changes everything. Most of the guys that dream of the big sell have not created one or both of those things within their business.
So you have a great partner. I know John. He's the co-founder of Service Autopilot. He's the CTO there, and he pretty much leads the developers at the company. Will you tell us a little bit about that relationship and how somebody should decide whether or not they should have a partner in their business?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm actually tomorrow Saturday, I'm actually about to record a video on the 5 things to consider when you pick a business partner. And because I think it's funny you bring this up because I've actually been thinking about this. So I can give you a couple right off the top of my head. I would say that I don't know the exact order that I would put them in, but without question, there's a couple things to consider. One is that what happens with a lot of partnerships is you need 2 people to maybe start this company. Obviously, that's a partnership. And a lot of guys will start a business with a partner that's somewhat similar to them. Because they're similar, so they're friends, they like each other, they've got a similar skill set, they connect. So we're buddies, we're friends, I trust you, I like you, we're both sort of the same person, let's start a business together. Well, I don't need a partner that's me. I got me. And what I need is a partner that's not me, that is good at the things that I'm not good at, a guy that's strong in the areas where I'm weak, a guy that sees things from a different perspective and says, I disagree. That's what I need as a business owner. I don't need me complimenting me, and I don't need me saying, yeah, you're right, all your ideas are great. I need the opposite. And so the thing you're looking for first in a business partner is somebody that compliments you, that's sort of opposite of you in many areas. That's a powerful team. When I'm making $10 million a year, a lot of partnerships, what happens is you need the guy to get started. Most of the time, you just need the guy for courage. You needed this other person to give you confidence to start the thing so you could go down this scary road with somebody else. But very quickly, if they're like you, you don't need them anymore. So that it sucks to have a $10 million company that you're dividing your money up with other people that are just like you that you feel you no longer need anymore. So that's something to consider. And I threw out several things there together, but it's looking for a partner that complements you in such a way that they bring a unique perspective and ability to the table. Because that then is a partnership where 10 years from now, you're looking at your partner and saying, you know what, you're really still contributing in this company. You're doing things that I don't want to do, couldn't do, or are not my areas of expertise. So that's one, because that will then give you a partnership that you're still happy with a long time from now. The other one, too, is work ethic. Nothing would drive me more crazy than having a business partner where I feel like I'm the guy doing everything, where I feel like, yeah, he worked his butt off for 2 years, but now I'm the one that most cares about taking this company to the next level while he's sitting at home doing nothing or screwing off or whatever the thing is that he's doing that I feel like he's not working. So you want a business partner that now and in the future you believe will still be as committed as you to taking the thing to the next level. And that's a big consideration, and that rolls into the money thing. So maybe a third consideration would be you better be on the same page about money, because if you are not, you will have nothing but strife in your business. So if you're fiscally conservative and the other person is spend, debt, you're going to bump heads all the time. And so you need somebody that's of the same mindset as you in terms of money. Yes, it's, again, nice to have somebody that may push you out of your comfort zone sometimes, but you don't want somebody that's going to blow money when you're conservative. That's going to create a lot of stress. But this is bigger than just in the business. Think about it now as you become a little more successful in the business. You're the conservative guy in the operation, and so in your personal life, you've been more conservative with your cars, you've been more conservative with your homes, you've been conservative, you don't have debt or minimal debt, but you've got a business partner running around out there that just bought the massive house, just bought his 7th car, just did X, Y, and Z, has this amount of debt, has started hurting his credit, and he's constantly, wait a second, we can't take a dip in our distributions this month because I need the money to make my bills. He can make no sacrifices when the business gets in trouble or has an investment opportunity because his lifestyle is demanding everything he can drain from that business. That will drive you insane as a business partner. So you need to really consider that. So, the way they think about money and spend money, are they going to put in the same amount of effort? Do they have skills and abilities that are opposite from yours? I'd say those are maybe 3 of the very first considerations that you've got to have. And then the one that you just can't get around is, historically, has this individual had honest integrity? Are they honest? Have they screwed you? Have they screwed other people? How do they treat other people? Because that's how they're going to treat your team. That is how they are going to treat your customers. If they have any lack of integrity when a lot of money is created or there is a lack of money, their lack of integrity will show through. And so it's like hiring a person to join your team. I feel like I can bring somebody onto my team and train them, but I can't bring somebody onto my team that is dishonest and make them an honest person. I can't bring somebody onto my team that is an unhappy person with life in the world and make them a happy person. So I think the same thing about a business partner. That person generally needs to have their act together. They need to be act together as in their personal life together. But on top of that, they have to 100% of the time historically have been an honest person with integrity, because I can't fix an integrity problem, and it will manifest itself someday. All problems in partnerships happen when you make a lot of money or you don't make a lot of money, which one of the two is going to happen. And so you better make sure that they can hold up through every crisis and every big exciting opportunity and celebration. And so I think if you get, there's other factors, but those 4, if you get those right, you're in the ballpark of picking somebody. And I'll throw in, this isn't the 5th, but I'll throw in a 5th. The 5th is you need some time. It's hard to just meet somebody. It's kind of like getting married. What are the odds of a successful long-term relationship when you meet somebody and 30 days later you get married? You don't know them very well. You've had very few experiences with them. You don't know their past. You don't know their flaws. You don't know anything about them really in 30 days. You need time. You need time to have seen this person in action, have been around this person. You need to know how they hold up in crisis, kind of back to what I said earlier. And the only way you can have that perspective is time. My partnerships have been extremely successful. And Andrew, as you know, I have owned multiple companies and I've had partnerships. And some of what I've just described that I've learned has come from the negatives of partnerships. My 2 companies that I have now are built with incredible partners. And both of my partners in both of these businesses exhibit all the characteristics. John goes back to 1997. That's when I met him. And Brent goes back to the 3rd grade. And it takes a very long time. And granted, it's not realistic to find a partner that you've known for that long. But I've had other partners that I knew for less time. And the guys that I knew for a very long time that allowed me to make a wise decision on who should be my partner have played out to be my very best partnerships. And so I think time is a little bit of this. You need to know that person.
Fantastic advice. And just to reiterate 2 of the key points that probably happen most frequently is that I see entrepreneurs consider bringing on a partner because of what you said first. bringing on somebody as a crutch because you're scared to go it alone. That is a big one. That is a really, really common one. And a really common reason why I think I see a lot of entrepreneurs want to do it is because they don't want to take all the responsibility and they don't want the buck to stop with them. They need somebody that that can really honestly serve as a crutch. And that's really something that we need to analyze and determine, why do we really need a partner in the first place? The other thing, and this goes along with a crutch, is that I see entrepreneurs also want to start a business or make a partner out of a web designer or a programmer or somebody that they could hire rather than give them 50% or 25% or give them any equity in your business whatsoever. That's another really big one, and you touched on that a little bit as well.
No, you made a really, really sound point right there with the bringing on some guy that can solve your short-term pain. So I'm using an example here. So I'm a guy founding a business, and I need somebody to help me build out my website, and I'm getting quotes of $15,000 to do it. My number one problem is, oh man, where am I going to come up with $15,000? And so I'm now thinking of solutions to solve that problem. And I'm thinking I'm going to make that guy my partner. That's the most expensive business decision you're ever going to make if your business is successful. You are going to have given away so much money to solve a short-term problem. I'd go find that money elsewhere, because if you're even slightly successful, just in the distributions, you'll pay that guy every year. And then long-term, if you sell this thing, that will be the most expensive website you've ever built in your entire life. And you see, as you said, you see a lot of guys doing that because, one, they don't want to learn how to do that thing, and so they just think it's easier to go get somebody that knows how to do it. And two, they are afraid because they don't have this amount of money to afford that thing, so they make that person a partner. I mean, you couldn't make a bigger mistake. That is just a disastrous financial mistake. You get a partner that has a broad set of skills that can contribute way more than solving the next little bottleneck in your business. The other thing that makes me think of is, if you're going to start a business, one of the things that I didn't totally get, actually I didn't get it in the beginning. There's no way I hadn't been through the experience, but you need a business partner. So, the problem with John and I is that we are both capable of starting and building and making things happen. It takes a completely different person to start something and get it to $1 million than it takes to take it from $1 million to $40 million, or $2 million to $40 million. Those are two totally different people. And so you have to be a certain personality to be able to make this thing happen and make it successful. You almost have to, John and I joke, there's a little bit of a cowboy mentality. We make a mess and we'll clean it up later, and we just have to move as fast as we can. And it's going to be messy, and things aren't going to be perfect. It's not going to be orderly. And if we tried to create order, if we brought in a project manager to start a company and everything had to be perfect and orderly and followed a process, and we're going to build systems from day number one, we're never going to make it to the next phase of the company, because that personality does not get companies going. You have to work inside chaos and react and make things happen and just accept that things are a mess. Then you reach a phase in the business where now we need to start building systems, and we need to start putting in place procedures, and we need to start having structure, and we need to actually plan and more planning and have true project management. Boy, personalities like mine and John, those are challenging. Those are challenging things. And so that whole example I just gave is, you have to make sure that you're looking for a personality that can make the transition. If you partner with somebody that can get you off the ground, but will never do the time, the work, and make the effort to personally, as a person, and develop their skill set to make the transition to become a totally different kind of business owner, you've got the wrong business owner. He gets you to phase one, and then you don't need him, or business partner. You've got to pick a business partner, and this is so hard to figure out, that can help you get through, like, imagine a space shuttle. It has to get you out of the atmosphere. It's a crazy experience. It's a mess. It's rough. It's wild. It's crazy, but he's got to get you out of the atmosphere, and then after that, things have to calm down, and now we have to focus on strategy, and we have to execute a plan, and the team has to do the same thing over and over and over again. We have to be working on the highest projects, and there's no more of this cowboy stuff in our business. We got to get rid of it. If he can't make that shift, or she can't make that shift in terms of skill set and thinking, you've got a bad business partner. You don't need them after some point. And that's a thing I didn't even mention, but that's something to consider, Andrew, that you made me think of.
As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we need to always be making decisions, not just based on this week, this month, this year, but where we want to be in 10 years. And put the processes, put the right people in place for that 10-year goal. And that's true for not only hiring employees, but also choosing your partner, even on the decisions that you make surrounding your website or your marketing program. We need to look at things from the long view, not just what we're going to do this year. And when we do that, we can have far greater results and not waste time spinning our wheels and take a straight run to that end goal rather than doing circle eights and taking the long route to reach that goal. So Jonathan, what advice would you give someone who has an idea for an application and wants to start a business around it?
Do it. And what I mean by that is it is so easy to overplan it. I go back to something that was probably when I was 19 years old. I had my lawn care business, and then maybe it was around 21 or so, 20. I wanted to start this vending business, and I don't know, Andrew, if you remember that. I was starting that vending business. I had the cargo van and a bunch of vending machines.
Yep.
And so I had some vending machines out there, and I look back. I ended up not staying in that business. I ended up getting out of it, and I had my machines in a bunch of places. And maybe this is a little bit of a weird answer, but if I look back at something in the past where I made a big mistake, and I just think about the characteristics that I exhibited, because I've had a bunch of success, but in that particular instance, I was over-planning. I was like trying to get everything perfect. I was reading, I was learning, I was meeting with all the vendors, I was figuring out the best machines to buy, I was trying to figure out all the best equipment, I was trying to figure out the best cargo van, I was figuring out, okay, what's the best way to market, I had to get my logo just right, I did letterhead, I did business cards, if you name it, I was figuring it all out before I was actually taking any massive action. Yeah, I then finally bought a van, I bought some machines, and I did get them located, but that part of the business happened very slowly. Preceding the actual doing was months and months and months and months of planning, which was a ginormous waste of time in hindsight. And I now understand what it was. What it was is, well, maybe a little bit of a need to be perfect, but I think really more than that, it was based on fear. It was a fear of, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know exactly how to do it. I don't know anything about this business. I don't know how to feel my way through it. I don't want to be unsuccessful. And so my fear was having me, and I probably couldn't have verbalized that it was fear at the time, but looking back, I know what it was. It was fear that I didn't really know what to do or what action to take, and therefore, let's overplan. Nobody does that intentionally, but it manifests itself as overplanning. And so what I have seen as a big problem that a lot of guys make is they just massively overplan, and I did it. But it's generally out of fear because they're afraid of what will happen. Will this work out? I don't know what to do. They just don't know. So the biggest way to get something launched is to just take action. Fight that tendency to plan. Fight that, and I see it all the time. I saw myself do it years and years ago. I see other people do it all the time. I have guys all the time. I preach this concept of get out of the field, get off the truck. And I see guys all the time, they're saying, yes, I'm going to start doing that this year so that I can get off the truck next year. No, get it done now, get off the truck by this year. Figure out what it takes, do it now. Start your business now. Whatever that thing is, let's make it happen now. If you want to build an app, just get something out there. And this is not a new concept. Everybody's preaching it now. Just get something in the marketplace. That's what we did with Service Autopilot. We got out something within months of starting development. And I think that's really critical because you need to feel your way through it. No amount of reading somebody else's blog, no amount of reading books, no amount of whatever is going to give you the expertise you need to be successful. Doing will give you the expertise because half the stuff that you need to know, You can read the book today, and all the answers can be in that book. You haven't had any experience yet that puts your mind in a position to receive that stuff that you're reading. You have to go through a little pain so that your mind is now looking for the answer. And so the only way you create pain so that your mind will be ready for the answer when you read it, hear it, or get the advice from a mentor is to actually have done it. You can't absorb everything in a book so that a year from now you know exactly what to do. You have to bump into a problem so that when next time you're reading the article, the book, hearing from your mentor, that thing clicks. It's like, oh, that's the answer I've been looking for. And so the only way you set yourself up to have that experience and that success is do it now. Get the minimum viable thing out there. Understand that you're going to fail. And the way I love to think about it is it's all a test. Everything you're doing is a test. How should I market? What feature should I put in my system? What wording should I say in my app? What pictures should I put out there for my app? On and on and on. It's all a test. It's not that you're stupid. It's not that you're failing. It's not that you're making a mistake. You're trying different things. The longer you wait to try different things, the longer it's going to be before you're successful. And I mean, so it really just comes down to getting out there, taking massive action as fast as you can, and then making adjustments as fast as you can.
Just launch.
Yep. Yeah, there you
just
go.
Launching.
I could have said it all in just that.
Keep shipping software.
Yes. And again, a lot of guys are preaching that. This is not my creation, but guys are preaching it in software. Just launch, just get the code out there, just whatever. Now take that same concept to your entire business. I mean, every element of your business, apply that exact concept to your business. You know, I can't launch because I don't have an LLC. Oh no, you could be a S corp. I'm sorry, you could be you could operate as a sole proprietor today, and you could get your LLC in 4 months. Start today. You don't need to wait on the LLC. I mean, there's a million examples of that kind of stuff. Just go and then clean it up. You know, really, what's the worst that can happen most of the time by not having every single duck in a row? I fight the same thing all the time. It's easy for me to say this stuff, but I still fight this stuff. I still catch myself doing dumb things all the time. It's a thing that we have to, as business owners, especially when we're getting started, constantly push back against. And the new business owner has the biggest challenge in this area. And so in your launching of your app, that's one thing. Now apply that same principle to every element of your business.
I've seen it happen before where companies don't want to launch or announce that they are a business yet because they don't have their logo right.
You remember Duke Nukem from a long time ago, that video game?
Yes.
You just Google the Duke Nukem story and read about how they blew their entire fortune because they kept changing their gaming engine because they wanted the perfect engine. It's a fascinating business case study of a scenario where you just flat out didn't ship.
They did eventually.
Well, yeah,
but I think it was about 10 years.
How did it go? I mean, and in the meantime, I'll read about all the crap that happened in the meantime because they waited so long. So you can always do a version 3. You can always do a version 4. So anyway, and that's true of your business.
The key point here is entrepreneurs oftentimes catch the disease of paralysis through perfection.
Yeah.
And wanting everything to be perfect. But the reality is nothing that you do is ever going to be 100% as a business owner. Not your marketing, not the employees that you hire. Nothing in your business is going to be perfect at all times. It's always a work in progress. And if you don't approach your business as a work in progress, that you're always fine-tuning and getting that engine to run smoother and smoother, you're not going to launch. You're not going to take action. You're not even going to get started because it's never going to be perfect. You know, I liken business to solving a series of problems, and there's always going to be a problem that's going to be in your way, whether or not it's your logo not being completed or your website's not ready. Just launch, take definitive action, and get started. Put one foot in front of the other and get moving.
Boy, I agree.